From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
And here we go. Welcome to the Badass Counseling Show. My name is Sven Erlandson. I am the Badass Counselor. And it's great to have you here, whether you are checking in from Southern Ireland or whether you are checking in from South Africa. It is great to have you here. Maybe you are even checking in from Southern Michigan or Northern Washington. It's just super duper to have you here. We love all the people that follow our show from around the world. And you have caught us doing a live taping of a lightning round. We are live right this moment. Even though you are listening to a taping, we are actually live in the studio on YouTube, on TikTok, and on Facebook. I am joined in studio by my team, KC over in the booth, and Rob the Rocket sitting right next to me. Rob, what say ye?
Hey, Coach, we do 26 episode seasons. For the only reason is I'm an old-fashioned TV guy, and we usually had 26 episode seasons in the very old days. Anyway, we do 26 episode seasons for just an arbitrary reason, and this is the 26th episode of our 12th season.
Holy crap.
And you being a math major would know how many episodes that is.
Well, I know 25 times 25 is 625. I know that 12 times 26 is 10 times 26, which is 260. And then do two more 26s, that's 52 more. So that's 312.
Ding, ding, ding.
Wow. Mom, I still know my math.
Impressive.
I forget things, but the old Alzheimer's has not fully kicked in yet.
Well done.
512?
312.
300.
You got it right.
It is kicking in.
And then you forgot.
312 episodes.
That's my job to forget.
That's awesome. And I think we have over 2.5 million downloads.
Yes, we do.
And lots of cheeseburgers eaten. How many billion cheeseburgers have we served this week?
Billions and billions served.
Billions and billions. And so we've got people firing in questions. And folks, we are coming in hot tonight. We are starting hot. All right. Now, the only thing that I ask is that you keep your question short. I've already mentioned that before we started the show, but also, if you would be so willing, leave psychology jargon out. And the reason for that is I am not a psychologist. I am not a psychiatrist. I am not a licensed medical anything therapist. I'm a soul counselor. My background is a former clergyman. I have had a soul counseling practice for 30 years. I do not step out of my lane. If you have psychological jargon, I will not answer your question. If you can just put it in normal talk, normal people talk, like you're talking to your favorite auntie, or you're talking to that wise old man who lives down the street that you trust. That's how I want you to talk to me. Psychology jargon, I will not touch your question because I stay in my fucking lane. All right. And with that said, oh boy, Tanya on Facebook asked this question. What's the difference in being suicidal and just not wanting to exist anymore? So what's the difference between those two things? I could never kill myself, but I just don't care to survive anymore. I'm 53 and exhausted. Now, just so you guys are aware, the fact that I just read that sentence and we are live right now on TikTok says that I'm about to get yelled at right now on TikTok. I guarantee you in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to get a freaking notice, apart from the fact that I swear and they hate that. They will let anybody create a fake account from Badass Counseling. There's like 70 of them right now on TikTok, but you say the magic words and they'll yell at you. Anyway, back to Tanya's question. What's the difference in being that versus not wanting to exist anymore? You say you could never do yourself in, but you just don't care to survive anymore. I'm 53 and exhausted. Well, the difference is that you're alive. That's the difference, which means there's hope. But the bottom line is when you don't want to live, what that means is you've got so much pain inside of you, Tanya. Now, Tanya, I have very, very long scars going up my forearm. You probably can't see them because of the lighting, but I do. About 25 years ago, and I opened up my arms and I bled for over an hour and then called the police and spent time in the psych ward It was supposed to be 72 hours. It was 36 hours. They released me early, etc. I had to find my own way out of a 12-year suicidal depression. I couldn't find a therapist to help me. That's a true story, and I've talked about it before on the show. It's no grand secret. Okay. So I have been literally where you are. Different reasons, I'm sure, but same spot. I literally know exactly where you are. Okay. I have counseled more clients who wanted to end their lives, either in the moment or they've been in this long suicidal depression, more than I could ever count over the last 30 years. All right. I will tell you this. What is afflicting your soul is messages, pain, and fear. BS messages that you got at a very young age that are packed on top of your authentic self, down deep inside of you, that are so oppressing your soul that you want to end it, that make you believe that who you authentically are does not have worth, to the point where you can't even hear who you authentically are. I have been where you are. This isn't bullshit. This is not out of a book. In fact, I've written books designed to take people out of the very worst of the very worst. Okay? I am telling you, Tanya, there is life. You think there isn't? I was where you are 25 years ago. And then about after that event, it didn't take me this long to fully come out of it, but it was about 7 years later. And I was living and working among the homeless. And I realized in that moment, I had not a penny to my name. And I'd come out of it and so forth, but I had never been happier in my entire life. I have, to this day, I have success. I have people who come to me for help. I've won the respect of a lot of people around the world. I can tell you there is not just life, there is life that you can't even imagine. But what it requires, Tanya, is the willingness to go into the very ugliest of messages and the willingness to go in and do the ugly, scary, dirty, nasty work of looking at them, naming them, and beginning their extraction. How? Literally, I swear to God, read the fucking book. Where is it? It's right here. There's a hole in my love cup. This is about 60% of my counseling method in one book. Does it deal specifically with the topic that you're asking about, ending your life? No, it doesn't. Doesn't need it. Okay? This is going to take you down to that stuff. But what you have to bring is the courage. All right? You already have the hope. You're alive. All right? That divine spark inside of you, that flame that is still flickering, like that pilot light under the water heater in your house, that pilot light on the stove under each of the burners. When you turn up the gas, it goes whoosh, right? So that you can boil a pot of, water for your corn on the cob or whatever. That little pilot light is still burning inside of you. It may not feel like it, but it is, because you're alive. Because of your obligations, right? Now, you got to have the courage to do the work. And I guarantee you, if you do the work, there is life. I have been there. This can be done. You got to bring the courage to do it. I'm telling you, stay in touch with the show. If you have the courage and go in and do the fucking work, stay in touch with the show, because I want to hear, and I want to hear your fucking progress. All right. Next question. Here we go. Sarah, the bookkeeper, says, this is over on TikTok. I tend to turn into an emotionless robot during relationship conflict. Any advice? Is that okay? First of all, is that okay to turn into an emotionless robot during relationship conflict? Yeah, why would it not be okay? If clearly you need to for whatever reason, there's nothing wrong with feeling what you feel. Now, the truth is, so is it okay? Yes. Is it in the best long-term interest of your relationship? No, but for now, is it okay? Yes. Okay. So, any advice? Yes. Okay. In all likelihood, the reason you're turning into an emotionless robot during relationship conflict is because, in all likelihood, you're conflict averse, probably experienced a lot of conflict growing up, and just high energy, high stress causes you to shut down. So you're becoming emotionless. You're shutting off your own emotions, which if I were to guess, when you were growing up, that anytime there was high energy, or there was one person in the house, or potentially two people who had high energy, who had high conflict, and that there was not room for your energy, there was not room for your feelings. And so you shut down in order to be safe, or your feelings simply were not allowed. Or when your feelings came up, they simply aren't allowed in your existing relationship. And so you shut down to keep yourself safe, to keep your feelings safe. And so what needs to happen, first of all, is you need to, similar to what I was just discussing with Tanya, is you need to go into yourself and begin the work of healing, of beginning to flush out your pain, your fears, and your bullshit beliefs you've been taught about yourself. Because what is happening inside of you is you actually have feelings that are going on inside of you that you're shutting down, A, to protect, but you're also feeling things inside of you, mainly fear. In other words, your feelings aren't flowing naturally. They're being shut down. They're being protected out of fear. You're fearing something happening. And so in your journaling, you have to express, you have to get out of you, what am I fearing? In all likelihood, you're afraid that if I express how I feel, they'll get criticized, they'll get put down, that I will get hurt somehow. And so you have to be doing that work in advance. So it's not that there's advice for what you can do in the moment. The solution isn't what you do in the moment. Anybody offering you solutions for what you can do during the conflict is missing the point. The solution is what you do before the conflict to address the fears, to address the anxiety, to address the likely, fears of sadness, fears of the other person's anger. You begin to flush all of that out and journal about it. And what am I really thinking? What's going on inside of me during that time? What does this remind me of in my past? All of that work has to be done before. And the more you begin to unpack that and take the meat off the bone, so to speak, and the more you journal about those fears, and it really makes me sad, and I feel like I'm not loved when he does that, etc. The more you do that ahead of time, the more you know what you're experiencing in the moment, but also you begin to empty the crud out of the love cup. Because there are things in your love cup, negative memories that have negative emotional charges attached to them. And the more you go in and decharge those memories, again, that's what I wrote the book for, to help you do this work of decharging those old memories. The more you do that, then as it's happening in real time, you're not all charged up inside. And when you get charged up inside, it sounds like you're shutting down because you don't know what to do and you get afraid. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing intrinsically wrong with shutting down in a relationship. And especially one of the things you can do in the meantime, when you are shutting down in a relationship conflict, is after the conflict, you can come back and talk to the other person and say, here's what was going on inside of me. Here's what I was feeling. And I want to talk it out, but I need to do it at lower energy. Can I tell you guys something that happened literally just today? Literally, let's see, about 6-7 hours ago, in my own relationship with my girlfriend, this exact issue came up. Okay, my girlfriend and I are considering going in on a rental property together. There's a house near us, a dear, dear, dear old woman that we love very much, and we were very good to in the end of her life. And her adult son, who's a little bit older than us, offered to let us purchase her house after she passed away. And we've been thinking about it, and we had some really we've been having a lot of conversations over the preceding months, and we knew we had to come up with a decision. And so today we still have a little bit more information to get, but we knew we had to make a really big decision or have a really big conversation today. Really hard one. And I knew that she comes from an Italian family in the Bronx. She's a Bronx, New York City Italian, all right, of almost all women, right? And she's in her 60s and I'm in my late 50s, and I come from a very large family of very Scandinavian, Swedish, American, Lutheran Minnesotans, all very stoic, but I was the one loudmouth because that's how I got attention. So you got two very high energy people. But I knew that for this conversation, I had to take responsibility for me and I had to be calm. So this morning I was working on the book for several hours. I'm working on my next book. And then I spent a few hours journaling and a bit of meditating that I do, my own version of meditating. And I've just been focusing the last 48 hours. It's like, I got to focus on calm. And I literally, well, you can't see it. I've rubbed it off the side of my hand, but I wrote on the side of my hand in pen, stay calm. No lie. I shit you not. Just inches from the scars from my suicide. Just same. I mean, this is all visual aids today. You're getting all the visual aids on my body. All right. I will not be taking my shirt or pants off. So don't worry. Right. But literally, but I did the work in advance, and I've been doing all my flushing of all my crap for, decades and decades. But I knew for this one, I had to focus on me staying calm. And at the beginning of our conversation, I said to my girlfriend, I want you to know, I promise you, I am going to stay calm in this conversation. And I need one thing from you. And she said that I don't interrupt you, right? And I said, yes, please. But if you do, it's okay, all right? But I just really need you to put effort in. She said, I'm gonna. And she did. Because we both knew what we needed from each other. But you got to understand what preceded that was we've both been doing the work with each other, because she knows the one thing for me that makes me go hot is when I get interrupted or cut off. If I feel like I'm not heard, that is a huge, just the thing for me. It's so disrespectful for me. And for her, when I elevate my energy, for her, she recedes just like you. Okay. So I totally get where you're at. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I knew that, but with her, if she'll come back later, if she has to shut down on the conversation, she'll come back later. I'll come back later and say, hey, I elevated my energy. Let's talk about it. So if you have to shut down in one of your conversations, go back later and say, hey, let's talk about it. But in the meantime, it's the work you're doing outside of session. And this is what I always tell folks. It's not the work you're doing in your therapy sessions. It's what you're doing outside of session. Your therapist isn't the hero. You're the hero in what you're doing in your therapy session or outside of therapy, and the journaling you're doing. That's where the real work is done. You're not fixing your relationship by what's happening in your conflicts and in your conversations. It's all the work you're doing preceding that. Next question. All right.
I have a question on YouTube, but I'm afraid to interrupt your flow here.
No, bring it on, Daddy. Oh, come on now.
Yeah, I'm not interrupting your thought. Am I?
No flow. No flow interruption. Here we go.
Oh, good. All right. From Debbie Mine. How do I tell my adult son he needs to look within himself to move forward and be happy in life? And she goes on to say, I want to help my son open up to me about his fears, sadness, and childhood. He sees it very differently than I remember.
Well, my first question would be, depends on how old your adult son is. And the reason I say that, and Debbie can you can fire that in if you want, Debbie. I don't want to get in too much of a back and forth here, but here's the thing. One of the things with helping an adult child heal that you guys got to understand is when it's your own child, a lot of times they're not going to be receptive, okay? Because if they're healing from you, the healing, this is such a tricky little thing. Up until like 20, 25, 30, a lot of times if you try to go to the child and apologize, the adult child, and apologize and own your shit, a lot of if you've had a somewhat functional relationship with that child, you know what the child a lot of times is going to do? It's no big deal. Don't worry. No, it was nothing, Mom. Dad, no, it's all good. It's all good. They'll blow it off. Either A, because they don't want you to feel bad, or B, even worse, they don't think it is a big deal, or they don't even see it. So it's always tricky when a parent is doing healing work with a kid from, let's say, 18 to, these are random dates, but 18 to 25, 28. And especially if it's a male, if I'm being really honest, because a lot of times with males, they've been taught the bravado bullshit thing by males in their 30s, on social media. Oh, you got to be tough, and stoicism.
He's 40.
Okay. Now that brings to the next level. And she's asking, how do I help him basically to, look at his shit?
Yeah. How do I help him look within himself to move forward? He has a different recollection of his childhood than she thinks.
Well, but that could mean any number of things. Does that mean that he thinks you did bad, or he thinks he's bad, or, in all honesty, if you want to help your son, regardless of the age, here's my recommendation. I tell this to everyone. I've used it on the show before. I did a video, and I'm going to recommend you. I know you're watching us right now, Debbie, on YouTube. I'm going to recommend that you go either to Instagram or TikTok for this. And the only reason I'm recommending those is because it's easiest to scroll back through my past videos. I've put up about 1,600, 1,700 past videos. And trying to do it on YouTube is going to take you forever. Trying to do it on Facebook is going to take even longer. The reason it's so quick and easy on Instagram and on TikTok is because they're thumbnails. It's just little squares, square, square, square. You can, as fast as your thumb can move, you can get back. I want you to go back to Christmas of 2023. It's either December 24th or December 25th of 2023. Why? I posted a video on that day. And I'm sitting outside. It's daytime. I've got a bomber jacket on. I'm sitting on a log, and there's snow around. All right. And I posted a video, and the title is something to the effect of the 7 things you can do to help your adult child heal. And I want you to go back and watch that, because there are 7 things, well, as the video says, that you can do to help your adult child heal. By 40 years old, the adult is going to be far more receptive generally than a 20 or 25-year-old is going to be. However, and that's what you can do. But as the old saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And what you need to do above all else is take ownership of the pain that you have caused. That's what you can do. True ownership. And that video gives you exact functional, operational steps that you can take to help own what you have done. Beyond that, you can't do. I mean, you can try sending a few of my videos if you want, but beyond that, it is out of your hands. And then what has to happen, and this is the ugly part, this is the sad part. Unfortunately, his pain in life has to get bad enough. And I tell people all the time, for as bad as you think your pain is, it's going to get worse. If a person isn't doing the healing work, it's going to get worse. And they're like, Sven, my pain is horrible. It can't get any worse. And I'm like, oh, don't ever say that. Don't tempt the gods. Don't tempt God. Don't tempt the fates. Don't tempt the universe. That if you haven't hit what I call the fuck it point, if you haven't begun the course of action, if you don't have clarity of what your path out is, it hasn't gotten to the point yet. Change will not occur until the pain gets bad enough. So ultimately, you have to do what you can to own the pain that you have caused and the BS beliefs that you have instilled in him that you maybe can't even see. And that will help you do the steps. But after that, it's in his hands. And it's really up to him until he hits the point that he's broken. And we have to break in life. And once we are broken, that's when sort of grace can seep in.
Time to take a break and talk about Community Plus.
Very briefly, Community Plus, we had a hue and cry for quite some time. People wanting to level up their support group experience. We have a support group of about 45,000 members on Facebook, and folks were saying, we just want something more intimate. And so we created a fee-based or subscription-based support and growth group on the website. It's called Community Plus. You get free access to me twice a month. We have free drawings for small group counseling once a month with me. Once a month, we have drawings for free one-on-one counseling. We have access to our top do-it-yourself videos. We have all sorts of stuff. You get priority pass access to top of the or front of the line. If you choose to purchase counseling with me, ongoing counseling, you go to the front of the waiting line, priority pass, all sorts of stuff. That is Community Plus at badasscounseling.com.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
Hi, guys. It's great to have you back to another episode of The Lightning Round. We have a comment from Brian on TikTok. Brian says, just want everyone to know I am a part of Community Plus, and it is absolutely life-changing. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that personal testimonial. I want everyone to also know that Carly, the studio cat, is fighting to lay all over the mixing board, and Rob the Rocket is fighting Carly to get off the damn mixing board. All right, so next question. Here we go. All right. Light asks, Light is the person's handle on TikTok, asks the question, what if you start to do the work and the pain continues for years? Simple answer is this, Light, you're not going deep enough. And I'm not saying that to be insulting or to hurt your feelings or anything, that if the pain continues, there is stuff deeper that you are either running from or avoiding. I guarantee it. I tell people all the time that transformation can be immediate if you go deep enough. And this is one of the things I say about therapy as well, that your therapist, the mark of a good therapist is that they are pushing you. The mark of a good therapist, if I'm being really honest with you, is that, well, let me put it in workout terms, all right? Like fitness terms and gym terms. My girlfriend and I have been together for 11 years. I'm a former NCAA strength coach, former Division I NCAA athlete, and so forth, and competitive powerlifter. And we don't work out together because it would be just dumb. You know, we're just two different sizes. We'd be stripping all the weight, then putting it back on and silly. But occasionally she'll say, hey, Sven, will you work me out? And I'll say, sure. Yeah, no big deal. And but she has a daughter who is also a present and former fitness instructor at some top gyms. And so sometimes she'll work her out and sometimes my girlfriend works out on her own, whatever. But in those times where I work her out, you know, she's saying, you know, push me hard, whatever. And I do. And the way I do it is just sort of the way I do it. It's sort of old school shit, right? And we know she's had a good workout when at the end of the workout, she'll take her earbuds out of her ear and she'll turn around and she'll say to me, I want to punch you in the fucking face. And then she'll proceed to start punching me in the gut. So I have tightened up my gut and she's just wailing on me in the gut. That's when we know she's had a great workout, when she wants to punch me in the face, right? She says it semi-playfully and she doesn't actually punch me in the face, all right? I'm not promoting domestic violence, blah, blah, blah. All right. You know you have a great therapist when at times you want to punch him in the face. That's how you know you have a great therapist, when they are challenging you. I get people commenting on my posts all the time, Sven, I hate you and I love you at the same time. Sven, it's another punch in the gut. Sven, you're always kicking my ass. Shit like that. That's when you know you're going deep enough. That's when you know you're on to something. You can do this work on yourself. You don't have to have a therapist. I'm a huge, huge believer in self-help. I had to get myself out of a 12-year suicidal depression, folks. You guys have heard me say it before. All right. So all of this to say, you can do this work yourself, but you got to push yourselves and you got to have the right tools as well. Pen and paper is the only tool you have to have, but there are some really great books out there. And I list them at the very beginning of my book. I list 9 books that'll help you do all the work. You don't even have to buy my book. Just find a copy of my book and look inside of it, write down the other 9 books and get those instead of mine. You don't have to buy mine if you fucking hate my guts. I don't care. But I've written this book to help you freaking do it. But the bottom line is, if you are not making progress, either A, you're not doing the fucking journaling exercises, because you have to interface your life with the insights of any book that you are reading. Any tool that you are using, there has to be interface of the two. There has to be a railroad crossing. There has to be a juxtaposition of those two things. 2, you have to go deeper. You always have to be pushing yourself with whys. What's really going on inside of me? Where is that coming from? What might the origin of that be? When did this really start? But when did it really, really start? Shit like that. You've always got to be pushing yourselves to go deeper, folks. All right, next question. Oh, this is great. Fernandum 31591 on TikTok. This is really great, Rob. I'm so glad this person asked that in light of what we've just posted.
Go for it.
All right. Fernandum asked this question. How can I work on my narcissism? I really want to change. This is affecting my relationship. I really want to change, period. This is affecting my relationship. If you look on the posts, I'm going to read this 2 ways. Fernandum, I want you to look at can you believe this? This is great.
Yeah.
Okay. I told you guys I was going to get this. And I got it. It was later than I thought, but I just got this from TikTok. Live restricted for some audiences. Your live contains themes that some may find uncomfortable and has been restricted. Reason? Violates community guidelines. I knew it. It's because I opened with a comment about that. Yeah, about that thing about life and death.
End of same.
Yep. I told you guys, they always kick my ass. They'll be happy to let 70 people create new, fake accounts on me. But boy, you say one word, Or if I were to show my boobies, then they wouldn't like that.
Me. Good news for Facebook and YouTube users.
Yep, but we are still going. They haven't shut me down. They will shut me down, perhaps. But anyway, back to this question. How can I work on my narcissism? Okay, first of all, for those that are listening to us live right now, we just posted an episode. We had a fella on the show who was an avowed narcissist who wanted to get over it. True story. And we taped 2 episodes with this fella, and we just put up the first episode on
June 5th.
And the second episode is going up on
June 19th.
Right. And so you can listen to that first episode. And we got a testimonial. And if I had my phone in front of me, not actually playing TikTok right now, we just got a testimonial from this guy whose wife heard the first episode and came to him, and what was it? 2 days, yesterday, day before.
Right.
And basically said, what was it again, Rob?
That she was just, thought the whole exchange was excellent. It's exactly what she was hoping to hear. And they had a hug for the first time in who knows how long.
In like a year or 2 years or something like that. And so it's a really great episode. So for those of you that are with us live right now, all right, on June 10th, whatever this is, go listen to that fucking episode.
It's called I Am a Narcissist Help.
That's it, June 5th. Okay, here it is. How can I work on my narcissism? I really want to change. This is affecting my relationship. Narcissism, regardless of what people are going to tell you, narcissism you're not born that way. It's bullshit. No child comes out of the womb saying, I'm going to fucking take from everybody. I'm going to be a dick. No child comes out of the womb that way, okay? What happened was, in childhood, you got the message that your needs, your wants, who you are doesn't matter. You can get that by being neglected. You can get that by being the golden child. And you're like, well, how does a golden child get the message that their needs and wants aren't matter? They get everything. No, they don't. A golden child is taught that they get everything, but only if they do what it's expected of them. So they have to stuff down who they authentically are and become what's expected of them. So their authentic self never gets expressed. They only get the Scooby snack. They only get the spiff. They only get the reward when they're being what's expected of them. If they don't do that, I'm disappointed in you, Billy. Okay. So somewhere in childhood, so you were neglected, or you were taught that the best thing you can do is to be loving and be kind all the time. There's so many ways to convey to a child that your love needs are not going to get met here, that you're not wanted, that who you really are isn't important. It's any number of these messages. And so what the child does as a survival mechanism is they find a way to get love. Now, what some people do is they become extreme givers. That if I just give you more, then you'll give me love. So they get their love cup filled. They get you to pour love into them by giving more and more and more to you. It's like they're purchasing it. Okay, I'll give you a ton, just give me some in return. What other people do, and those are what I call extreme givers, what other people do when their love needs are not being met, when they're getting the message, you're not important, your love needs aren't important, what other people do is they take it. Now, when you're an 8-year-old, and I've seen kids, we literally had a guy on the show, March 23rd of 2023, I think was the episode. Our first time we had a narcissist on the show. We had an avowed narcissist and someone recovering from being in a relationship with a narcissist who didn't know each other. We had them on the show, and this guy said, yeah, it started with me when I was 8. Okay, so it starts very young. And you can hardly blame a child for stealing love if they're not getting it. You can't blame a fucking child. And the thing is, that becomes patternized, not patronized, patternized or patterned in childhood. And then they're doing it in teen years. And by the time they're adults, this is just what they've always done to get love. They're stealing it. They're taking from everyone. They're manipulating situations. They're controlling people to get love for them. And it's in short supply. So they take it and they don't give it unless they know they're going to get a return on investment. And there's got to be good ROI in order for them to do it. I'll give a little bit and I'll get a lot back. Return on investment, right? Okay. And so when you say you want to work on your narcissism, the person who asked me this question here on TikTok, when you say you want to work on your narcissism, what that requires is precisely what I do in my work with my clients. It requires going back to that inner child. This is all inner child work. My book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, it's been a bestseller on Amazon in the field of inner child. It's like fucking 89 weeks or some shit in the top 10 on Amazon in inner child. I think this week it's like number 7 or some shit. It's been as high as number 2 and number 1. And so what's my point? You have to go back in using the tools that I've created. And other people have created some tools. I just think mine are pretty good. I think mine are really good, actually. And go back in and through journaling and through using the right tools and begin to identify where those sources came from, naming them. And you guys have heard me say the quote that my mom said for decades and decades, and she did this work long before I was around, did it far better than I do it. She would always say, remember, Sven, naming the beast is half the problem. But it's having the courage to go into those experiences that are so painful and so scary and find them and identify the sources, name the beast, and then it's the extraction, the flushing of those voices, because it's those original pains that are causing the stealing. And it's causing also this shortage mentality. And so you're hoarding it. So a narcissist doesn't give love. Why? Because there's only so much, and I got to keep it for me. The only way I'm going to give somebody is if I know I'm going to get a good ROI. Right? So they hoard it, and I'm going to take and take and take some more. Whereas the extreme giver says, I'm going to give and give and give and give and give and give and give. Just give me a little bit in return. So when you get an extreme giver meeting an extreme taker, and they always seem to find each other. It's like opposite poles on a magnet, a north pole and a south pole on a magnet, and they just go bong, and they're just stuck together. Match made in hell. Anywho, that's what you got to do there, young lady. You got to go into that, deep into that. And it doesn't have to take forever. As you guys have heard me say, transformation can be immediate. If you go deep enough, it just requires the courage to go deep into that shit. All right. Rosanna says, when do you find your life purpose? When you have the courage to get out all the pain, the fears, and the bullshit beliefs you've been taught about yourself. Remember, you guys, remember, in life purpose or mission in life or your calling, for those of you who think in God terms, God, what are you calling me to? All right. And as a former clergyman, that was sort of the language I dealt in, and my flock dealt in is this idea of what is my calling? What is your purpose? And how do you know when does our purpose come? And the simple analogy I use is this. And you guys have heard me say this a million times, but I just think it is the best analogy for it. Okay? The best analogy is in wintertime, in the autumn, in the northern states of the United States. I grew up in Minnesota. What happens in October? All the leaves start to fall off the trees, except all the leaves don't fall off the trees. A lot of them do. And what do? You rake them up. We don't use blowers anymore. Why do you not use blowers? Because those gas-powered blowers are horrible for the environment. They're horrible on ears. They're like worse than a jet. So we're going back to rakes, or use the electric ones. All right, that's my little 2 cents. So after you've raked the lawn and so forth, maybe you've done it twice. Well, then November comes and the rains start, right? And then more wind. And what happens? After you're done and it's wet, you're done. It's like, I'm not raking anymore. Well, what happens? Always, the remaining leaves always fall. There's always more, right? And then it's like, to hell with that. I'm not going back out and raking again. They're all wet. To hell with it. I'll do it in the spring. And so they fall. And then the winds of winter come, and they always blow it up next to the house and onto your old flower beds and so forth. And then the snow comes, and more snow, and then more rain. And then, it's January, and then you got 3 feet of snow. And then it's freaking February and March, and then the thaw comes. And then, and then it's the mud and the snow and the gunk and the leaves, and then it starts to dry out, and you got to rake those flower beds again. Well, you're raking the flower beds, and you got to do it with a stiff rake. Why? Because there's ice in there with those leaves, and there's mud and gunk, and it's like no blower is going to work, so you got to have that stiff rake. And you rake off those flower beds. Why? Because if you don't rake off the flower beds, what doesn't happen? The daffodils, the jonquils, the lily of the valley, the irises, the peonies do not go up through 4 inches, 6 inches of packed leaves. They don't. They are not strong enough. But if you get out there with you can't use that steel little freaking rake. You got to use a hard plastic one or hard wood one and rake off that pack of winter pack of leaves and crud and ice and gunk. Then guess what? The lily of the valley, those glorious little lily of the valley that smells so good, those pretty little bells on that little lily of the valley that has that rich fragrance, they poke right up. They smell so good. All of your perennials just poke right up. The jonquils, the crocuses, the peonies, the irises with their little floppy little petals, so floppy. They poke right up. Rosanna, when you ask the question, when do you find your life purpose? When you pull the winter pack off the flower garden. Your life purpose just comes up effortlessly through the soil just like it's supposed to. Your life purpose is already inside of you, Rosanna. The winter pack of all the bullshit beliefs you have been taught to believe about yourself have to be raked off the garden. The pain, the fears, and the bullshit beliefs you have been taught about yourself have to be raked off the flower garden that is your soul. And the more you pull out the pain, the fears, and the bullshit beliefs you've been taught about yourself, the more your authentic self will effortlessly rise up from within. It's not out there. Your self, your purpose, your calling, your mission in life, it's not out there. It's already in you. It's been there the whole time. It's been there the whole time. You just have to have the courage to get all the bullshit out of you that was never your authentic self, that got inserted in you, that's been a lie the whole time. The question is, do you got the guts? All right, next question, guys. Here we go. All right, Liberated Logic on TikTok asked the question, how do I help my child to not become a narcissist like her father? Well, I think you were probably just listening. Hopefully you were listening a little bit ago when I was speaking with the person who asked how to deal with being a narcissist. That fine person admitted to being a narcissist and was asking what to do. And I said that narcissism starts in childhood when what happens? When a child isn't getting their love needs met. A person doesn't become a narcissist because they had a parent who was a narcissist necessarily, by having a behavior modeled for them. So if your child is engaging in a behavior that is being modeled for them by the other parent, you do not allow that behavior, first of all, which means you have to have the courage to say no and shut down a behavior. Do you have the courage to say no to your child every time? First of all. Second of all, if what is causing the narcissism, or what I call extreme taker, if the root cause of it is that the child is not getting love needs met, then my question to you is, or my offering to you is, how do I help my child to not become a narcissist like her father? Make sure her love needs are being met by you. Now, you can't control what the child is doing or not, what their needs are not being met when your child is with her father, but you can sure as hell control the love that your child is getting from you. Now, that doesn't mean you're all soft and squishy all the time. Your child also needs firm boundaries, needs chores, needs to be taught things, needs to be given guidance, needs to be taught proficiency, needs to learn to fail, to succeed, needs firm boundaries that you follow through on. Don't compromise boundaries. Needs to learn that there are rules, but needs love, affection, attention, kind words, time alone together. Needs to feel heard. Remember what my mother said, live for 93 years, raise 6 kids. Children want to be heard, not fixed. Give the child love because it is the dearth, the absence, the shortage of love that causes the rise of the extreme taker. Taking love because there's a shortage. That's how you keep your child from doing so. Somebody asked the question, and I didn't catch the name of who asked it. Somebody asked the question of the Narcissist episode, Rob, of when it aired. It was June 5th.
Yes.
And June 19th. June 5th episode is titled,
I Am a Narcissist Help.
All right. We are taking one more question.
Sven, on YouTube, Alex says, my girlfriend has lost about 10 friends and relatives over the past 2.5 years. How can I support her while she's grieving? I recommended Love Cup, and she's reading it, getting positive results. And to clarify, these people all passed away.
Oh, that kind of loss.
Yes.
Not she has a disagreeable personality. Okay. She's reading the book. She's getting results. My question is she also doing the journaling exercises? And I tell people this all the time. Reading Love Cup, there's a hole in my Love Cup, which is one of my books. Reading that, and this is sort of what I consider really a hardcore healing book, all right? Or even Badass Wisdom, which is a 366-day daily inspirational take you deep type book. But doing the work of Love Cup is great, but doing the journaling work is the real hardcore shit. And your question to me is basically, how do I support her? You support her as she's lost 10 people to death in
2.5 years.
Yow. The thing you can do is just, let me ask you this question. What is it that you do that makes her feel loved? What is it that you have done that makes her feel supported? Do more of that. Now, also, that doesn't mean that your needs go unmet. She also has an accountability to the relationship. She does. But as long as she has, in the history of the relationship, made deposits into the emotional bank account of the account, so to speak, then this is your time to be there for her. And I hear you saying that. How can I be there for her? Make fun for the relationship. What are you guys doing for the good of the relationship? What are you guys doing that's fun for her? What are you guys doing that's fun for you? What are you guys doing that's lighthearted? Do you guys like music? Have you gone to a concert recently? What do you guys like to do together that breathes life into you? But, encouraging her, making room for her. So, for instance, with my girlfriend, when she has struggles, I encourage her. I don't push her, but I encourage her. Do you need some time alone for journaling? And I'll say, I'm not going to push you, but if you would like some time alone, I actually have to go do X, Y, and Z today or Wednesday. And, take the afternoon if you want. It's no big deal. You need that though. And I'll encourage, but I don't push because it's not my business. Then I'm treating the person like a child. But encouraging and helping the person make space, that's something I can do. You have a follow-up, Rob?
No, I just think that's a really good answer.
Yeah, but there's always that fine line in relationships, and it has to be respected. Where encouraging versus pushing. Treating the person with, and you can even say that, listen, sweetheart, I really want to encourage you in your self-healing work, but I don't want to treat you like a child. And so if you feel like I am pushing you too much, I am totally cool backing off. I just want you to know that I love you and I support you. And sometimes I know I like a kick in the butt sometimes, but if it feels like you're getting too much of a kick in the butt or whatever, just say the word. I have no problems backing off. But it's also important that you and I have fun, because I'll be very honest with you, love, I need fun with my lovies too. I need fun with you, and I know you like having fun with me. So let's also we need to incorporate fun into our relationship as well. So it's some of those things. It's really the basics. It really is, folks, the basics of a relationship. And you know what? To piggyback on that, and now I'm not talking to you. Now I'm talking about anyone in a relationship where you have kids. If you have kids, it's not just about date night. It's bigger than that. I remember reading an article. This was back when Mad Men was still on the air. It was towards the end of the run of the TV show Mad Men. And it was an interview in, I think it was New York Times Magazine, with a woman who much of the Mad Men TV show was based on, the woman who the Peggy character was based on. And she was a woman who had risen up through the ranks in advertising back in the early 60s. And they were interviewing her, and this couldn't have been more than, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 10 probably, whatever it was. And she was talking about how in the course of her marriage and her life and career, I believe she said her top 3 priorities were her marriage was 1, her career was 2, and her children were 3. And that's, in a way, it's very 60s, 50s, 60s, but it's not. For a woman of the 60s to have her career be number 2, right? For her to have her husband be number 1, her marriage be number 1, that's not really a surprise for that era. Okay. But for her to have her career be number 2, it's like, wow, that's shocking and really sort of revolutionary. She was a woman ahead of her time. I think the thing that's probably most shocking for mothers or fathers nowadays is to have your children at the number 3 spot. And I actually find that the 3 spot of the child refreshing. I think so many people put the children at the number 1 spot, and I think that's problematic. I do. I don't believe that the children are the foundation of the family. And I want to tell you about my parents. And you guys have heard me speak glowingly of my parents. And they raised 6 children. My father was a clergyman, a Lutheran pastor. And my mother had gone to teaching school back in the 50s. And, highest paid teacher coming out of teaching college in, I think it was Wahoo, Nebraska. And then she went on to raise 6 children. She had a few miscarriages. I think maybe 1 stillbirth. I'm not sure in there. And then raised 6 kids. And then she had this huge education career at the end, and it ended up teaching graduate level early childhood education. At the graduate level, she ran education programs of some very large churches. She was a spiritual counselor, ran a suicide hotline. And Dad ended his career as a chaplain at the Veterans Hospital in Minneapolis. What's my point? I never, ever, 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 ever got the message from my parents that family was the most important thing. And I never, ever, 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 ever got the message from my parents that children were the most important thing in our family. In our home, I would say and this is me, my siblings might have gotten a different message. I think the message we got was sort of God and people were the most important thing. I was told that I was loved every single day of my life. I was given a hug by both my parents every single day of my life. Hugged and told I was loved every day of my life by both my parents. Every single day of my life. Given a kiss by both my parents most every day of my life. All right? And food on the table, clothes on our back, roof over our head, family dinner together. Did my parents make their mistakes? Absolutely. But what's my point? My point is when the children were fed and clothed, when we had to do chores and the work was done and their own children were given the love, my parents' lives were devoted to the people who didn't have love in the world, who didn't have clothes on their back, food on their table, to the children of the world and the adults of the world who were alone, who didn't have someone giving them a hug, giving them a kiss, didn't have someone telling them they were loved. So the message we got in our home was not that the children were the most important thing, and we weren't the most important thing. My parents, I could count on one half of one hand the number of sporting events that my parents ever went to before I got to high school. And I was in 4 sports for 10 years. And I'm glad they didn't go. I wasn't playing for them. I was playing for me. And so I just want to say, make your marriage a higher priority than you're making it. Your children need you to have a strong fucking marriage. Your children need you to have interests bigger than just them, but your children also need you to love them. It's both. It's not either or. It's both and. It's the marriage, it's them, and for you to have a life of your own. They need to see that you have interests. They need to see that you give a shit about something other than them, and they need to see that you care about them more than just yourself. Do you see how it's both and? It's not either or. Rob, you want to fill in? Do you got any comment on this? You were a good parent, and your children in their 40s and 30s adore you. Your daughters and your son love you. What's your thought on this idea of priorities as a parent?
Well, I like what you're saying, that it's important both to make sure the kids know that they are loved and also have your own life and be a good example in both cases. Kids were number 3 in my household growing up, and there wasn't a lot of displays of love.
How? And what about the marriage? You had a divorce or two, Rob.
Yeah, well, and Mark, somebody pointed that out because we had a comment about someone's moving on from divorce at an advanced age, and someone else said, Rob is single.
Oh, somebody outed you, Rob.
Yeah, afraid so. But I had a similar experience that kids were third, but I healed a lot later in life than you did. And also I didn't get that obvious displays of love and affection. It was, well, Rob's just so clever and so smart. He doesn't need any help. We'll just let him be.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And so that did inform my marriages. And had you told me as a young man I would be divorced 3 times, I would have said, you're absolutely full of shit. That's not me. I'm a good guy. I'm more of a giver. I'm certainly not a taker. But I've learned to balance that. And anyway, what happened, because I think there is a line you can draw, that I found myself, and I didn't realize it at the time, with women who needed fixing. And as an extreme giver, I'm just the right one to be there. And so I felt important and needed. But what about my needs? Well, that just wasn't part of the deal.
Well, and that's my question, Rob. What would be the one change that you would make? You had those the two marriage and divorces you had while you were raising your kids. You had a third marriage later, but of those two marriages, what would be the one adjustment if you could go back and change it? Although I know those being done is blessing in hindsight, but if you could go back and change one thing about your prioritization or anything of those early marriages, what would you change back when you had kids?
It's a good question, and I honestly believe that I did strike a pretty good balance in having interests and having things to do. I was certainly working full-time at the time, but the kids always knew I was there for them.
And just for the record, folks, just so you know, when Rob says working, this guy rose as high as senior vice president of Paramount Pictures.
So
we're talking serious heavy hitter, and yet he was home most nights for dinner with his kids. So,
I was home and cooked dinner.
And yes, he's a fucking brilliant cook. All right, and presentation, not just the foods on the plate. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah.
So you were making a point. I rudely interrupted. Go ahead.
No, it was not rude at all. Yeah, I was based in New York. I was in Los Angeles a lot, but mostly in New York. And I can't tell you the number of times I was running through Grand Central Terminal to make the train in time to get home to make dinner. And I'm glad.
Wow,
that I did.
Now wait,
it wasn't easy.
You're running through Grand Central, so you were taking the Metro North?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So when you were raising your kids,
I was taking the Metro North
and getting off at what stop?
Well, originally I lived in Mamaroneck.
Okay.
And then up in Connecticut.
Okay. Gotcha. Right, because you were in New Jersey growing up, so you would have taken the path out of Penn Station.
But I graduated high school and I did not go back to New Jersey, as nice as it is.
So what's the one change you would have made then, Rob?
Well, I don't know.
Just off the top of your head. Because I'll tell you the one I would have made.
I'll tell you what.
No, go ahead.
I would have been more concerned about my own needs and more clear about it and still strike that correct balance.
You know, it's so funny you say that because I was about to say, for instance, in my first marriage, when my children were young, because we divorced when the kids were like 6 and 3, right? When my kids were 6 and 3 and I was 28, whatever. I think the one thing that I would have done differently in that marriage, and it's a blessing that it ended and she ended, it ripped my fucking heart out 3 years, and we get along fine. That was 30 fucking years ago, right? And we get along great now, and she's, a terrific gal, and she has a wonderful, boyfriend, husband, whatever they are now, and he's a great guy. But I think the one change is I would have been tougher. I would have been more me.
Well,
I was an extreme giver. That was my problem. And I just gave and gave and gave and gave and gave indiscriminately rather than, hey, my needs, no. And I didn't have a no. I hadn't found my I yet, So that's all I know about that. Rob, that was good input. Thank you for that.
Anytime, bud.
There we go. So, folks, just for those of you who are with us live, this person says here, Rob, I'm an actress. Hook me up.
I don't have a power base anymore. I rely on others for a power base now.
That's it. He's been retired a few years, but all right. Thank you to everyone that has listened in to the lightning round of the Badass Conflict Show. On behalf of my team here, Casey in the booth, Rob the Rocket, and Carly the Studio Cat, thank you for tuning in and have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by 2-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.